You guys see the DOT's plan for that parking lot?
Whoa.
No.
Yeah, something, it's actually, it looks pretty good.
On Route 1.
Yeah, where the McLaughlin used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going, they're paving, they're gonna make it. And they're adding a sidewalk all along to the ferry landing, which is pretty extended sidewalk. It's pretty
Some
good.
towns good, so.
In there, yeah.
But. These go through.
Ron? All right, so. On order, Dave, why are we here?
The select board has set a special town meeting for September 29th at 6 o'clock in the Walsh Common. Cafeteria to most of us at the Lincolnville Central School. With a 2-article warrant, which each of you should have a copy of. The first is what we have needed every town meeting, select a moderator, and the second, I'll read for the benefit of people at home that may not be, have a piece of paper in front of them, but it's to see if the town will vote to appropriate $150,000 from the Harbor/Pier Reserve account to purchase an unimproved parcel of land located at 15 McKay Road, Assessors Tax Map 1, Lot 87-A, Book 4722, page 313 of the Waldo County Registry of Deeds, and abutting the town-owned boat launching ramp on terms and conditions outlined in that certain purchase and sale agreement dated June 25th, 2025, by and between the Lincolnville Sewer District and the town of Lincolnville, a copy of which is on file at the clerk's office. And that's been recommended by the Select Board and the Harbor Committee. And because there's an appropriation of funds, it needs a recommendation from the Budget Committee as well. So you also have in front of you a copy of the purchase and sale agreement. A lot of legalese, it says $150,000 for this parcel of land, and a kind of difficult to read because it's small and colorful plan, but I'll point out a little bit maybe on this map might be a little clearer, and then give you some quick history and then answer questions. So you can imagine this is Lincolnville Harbor, Route 1, McKay Road, the former McLaughlin's Lobster Shack, the ferry slip, the town's pier, and the boat launching ramp is right here, the current boat launching ramp. And the parcel the town is looking to acquire shows the old wastewater treatment plant that used to be on it, that the sewer district purchased and then relocated to higher ground and more ground. And they still have some piping that runs through it, that all piping goes out into the bay. We have other equipment buried underneath the ground, but that's the parcel. So for probably as long as the launching ramp has been in existence, it's challenging to utilize. It's very flat. It's basically at the elevation of the beach. So you imagine low tide, water runs out and the beach is still pretty flat. Unless you have the right type of trailer, it's next to useless. I couldn't launch my boat. I might be able to launch my boat there with some challenge, but I couldn't retrieve it there because there isn't enough pitch or angle to it. So what actually back in 2016 and 17, the town had Collins Engineering do an evaluation of the harbor facilities. And one of the issues they identified was the ramp, which most users know is very challenging because of its lack of pitch or steepness. Select board said, yeah, that's great, but what do? We don't own much. The parcel of land that we do own is very limited to begin with. And there's no spot for trailer parking or anything like that. So after you launch a boat, what do you do with the car and the trailer? So I wouldn't say it got back shelf, but it wasn't the highest on the priority list after the Collins report. The select board then a couple years later commissioned another fellow, Pinnacle Hill Engineering, to look at options for the launching ramp, and we got a nice little letter report and some drawing. I'll just hold this one up because it's nice and colorful. The yellow is the existing elevation, the cross section through it. The blue shows actually a preferred ramp. So the concept at the time was to come off the McKay Road level, head towards the harbor. And then when you get to a certain point, then go down at a constant slope, so it would be within the range of what's desirable for launching boat. And at the time, the sewer district was in the process of planning for their relocation of their facilities. And so the select board had Mr. Rule from Pinnacle Hill. He came up with a couple of different concepts. You don't have these, by the way, but they're certainly available, can be. Try not to kill too many pieces of trees here, but I can't remember which one of these the select board liked at the time, but they all involve, I don't know if you can see it, but there's the old wastewater treatment plant. And the concept was to redo the launching ramp and then have some parking that would be big enough for trailers. Sewer district at the time said, we've got way too much on our plate to take this on. They were still trying to find money to build and construct the plant, and then they went through the construction process. So the select board kept after them about, you know, when this is available, we'd like to be, you know, have a chance to purchase, we'd like to follow. So finally, the sewer district and the select board agreed to terms for the parcel. And we had this plan that you all have a copy of, came from Gartley and Dorsey, engineers in Camden. Select board engaged them to do some due diligence work because it is in the shoreland zone. And we wanted to ensure as best we could that we weren't going to buy a very small piece of property for $150,000 and then find out we couldn't do anything with it. After some conversations with the folks from the Maine Department of Environmental Protection and the Maine Geological Survey, the beach, there was some question about whether or not this was a sand dune. And if it was, we'd be doomed. And we probably wouldn't be having this meeting tonight. That area is classified now by the Maine Geological Survey as a cobble dune, meaning it has sand, but it also is cobblestone. You know, not the square ones we're all used to seeing in the streets, but cobbles. And we can go through a permitting process to protect the shoreline from ongoing erosion, because back in the January 23 storms, a fair amount of that property was eroded away by wave action. Which obviously if we're going to acquire a piece of property, we don't want to erode away into the ocean either. So I think the regulators are on board. There's no certainties until you actually apply for a permit, and we don't have time to apply for a permit and obtain it before our purchase and sale expires. But engineers are confident, the regulators that were there were, you know, these are the rules. You follow the rules, you meet the rules, you get your permit. You don't. So that's kind of where we are, and I were able to do that pretty quickly. But I'd be happy to try to answer more questions or talk to great length about that. But
So that larger area for the tax map, lot 8, I can hardly read it, 87A.
Yep.
Is that more for the parking, that anticipating for parking?
yeah, that the launching ramp will likely be in the future roughly where it is now, but because of the height and the fill that's going to be necessary in the armoring, it would have encroached in front of, at least partially in front of 87A. That's why we couldn't proceed with changing it prior. But most of 87A could be available for car and or trailer parking. The district, when they removed the plant and the tankage that was there, filled it in, and if you went down today, it kind of looks like a parking lot. But they don't have approval to use it for a parking lot. It would be a change of use from the wastewater treatment plant, and lots, the non-conforming lot. And district would just as soon not own it and have some money.
Yeah.
So
So in the future, we'll get a new boat ramp.
that is the long-range plan, is to acquire title right or interest to the property, in our case, title to the property. And then there are either, whether we fund it locally, there are some not piles, but there are some opportunities for grant funds for launching ramps. But definitely the hope, dream, and aspiration of the select board and the harbor users is to have a launching ramp there that has a greater slope that makes it easier to launch boats and retrieve them.
Yeah, so any ideas in the back of your mind on how far in the future before we would have a ramp?
If we move with, as one select board member says, all due municipal speed, it's still years out. The permitting, we do have some monies available for permitting because we raised and appropriated some monies a number of years ago for it, and then figured out we kind of couldn't do what needed to be done.
Mhm.
So that has stopped. But if we acquired it and we go through the permitting process, that's at least 6 months, John. And then you have to do the design process and figure out your funding. So it's a couple of years out. If everything went perfectly, let's see, this is 25.
Mhm.
Maybe if everything went as quickly as possible, maybe 27, but I think that's ambitious.
But within 5.
Yeah, I believe the select board's desire is to move, if this is acquired, to move forward as rapidly, within reason, as rapidly as possible.
Mhm.
I know the harbor users would like to see it changed. So the only thing standing between us and it is the money.
And this money is coming out of reserve accounts.
Yeah, the harbor savings, monies that don't get expended from the harbor goes into the harbor savings, and 1/2 of the boat excise tax that if we don't appropriate for another purpose goes into the harbor savings. So it builds up over time, and we've used it in the past for matches for grants when we rebuilt the wave screen. Everybody says, oh yeah, here's a grant, but you've got to match it, 20% or 50% or whatever. So, and to be quite honest, the harbor is a ongoing maintenance, not nightmare, but it's a challenge. I mean, it's in the water, out of the water, in the water, out of the water twice a day. And it's made of wood, and there's mechanical things on it that break, so that's why that exists.
And that's fine. Was the pier damaged during the storms?
The pier was, we sustained some damage during the storms in January. We were very fortunate. The deck of the pier is drift pinned down and securely fastened on this side. I guess I'd call that the south side. But I was there during one of those daily storms in January, And it was acting like a piano hinge on the secured side. It was going up and coming down with the waves. And I was like, I'm gonna watch that be torn apart.
Mhm.
And miraculously, it came back down. Tide went out, storm stopped, and we for the next storm 3 days later, we took the bait barrels that are down there and the exactors, which are like 4x4 by probably 3 or 4 feet tall. Bait containers, we put those on the pier side that wasn't secured down, filled them full of water to act as a weight. We survived the next one, and that has been, the deck is now, we had Mr. Rule come down from Pinnacle Hill and tell us it was safe to use again. And then he suggested that it be secured down and gave us a little design, and we managed to get FEMA to cooperate and help us with it. And a number of the piles got replaced too, the fender piles, which are they're really kind of sacrificial in nature to keep boats and the floats from rubbing up against that. But they sacrificed themselves during the storm, and we replaced them. So
Just throwing rocks at Canton Harbor, much, and then ladies' docks just turned 10 feet in the air.
we are, while we're keeping the sides going, we are in the process, and maybe some of you participated in it, with the Community Resilience Program. We got a grant from the state to look townwide at some resilience issues, and then we had a meeting where public was invited to come express their opinion about 4 different areas to apply for another grant for. We've now, and the citizens in true Lincolnville fashion, 2 of the options were pretty easily discarded, and then we voted on those other 2 and it tied amongst those there. So they left it to the select board to decide, and the select board decided to pursue a grant looking at resiliency in round terms from somewhere up here to the end of McKay Road and back towards the post office. That was the area of our biggest challenge during those storms, and some of the others they thought we could handle a little easier in-house. So we await news and information on that grant application. I think we'll be successful, but
So the town meeting will be September 29th.
Monday the 29th, yeah,
And
at the school.
closing is no later than September 30th.
Yep,
Okay.
nothing like that,
That's that.
nothing like deadline Dave. That was about a 3-month long purchase and sale. It took us a fair amount of time to get concurrence from the regulators that we could do what we wanted to do. And then we had to get the warrant drafted and blah, 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 get together with budget committee and harbor committees and schedule the closing. We're tentatively scheduled to close on the 30th. So we can meet our deadline. And the district is aware of that, and they know when the town meeting is. And so
Okay.
full steam ahead. And if we don't get the money, then we just cancel the closing.
How much money is in that account?
If you take out the monies that have been already assigned to something else, we have roughly $245,000. So we'd have 95 to 100 left over, not left over, but left in the account.
And what's the estimated cost of the improvements to the property?
That is a good question.
Thank you. I tried.
Much more than I know. I don't know what the stabilization would be or the launching ramp changes.
Ballpark,
Uh,
you're looking at 100,000 or $1 million.
somewhere between those two would be my guess. We haven't had anybody give us an estimate. Well, maybe Colin did, but I mean, that's 8 years old, so.
Well, if it was $1 billion 8 years ago.
Yeah, I'll flip while your head's gonna ask another
But
question.
in the meantime, we buy this property, we maybe leave it as parking, I know that is an issue for a lot of the other guys down there.
Yeah, we might have to go through our own permitting process, so I don't know the answer to that.
Just a sense, it's gonna be a few years, like if it's gonna be just be.
Yeah.
And wait, or.
We will likely, move ahead, I'm gonna say we'll likely move ahead with the stabilization as quickly as we possibly can, because we've been told that we'll be able to, as long as we're above the average annual high tide or some high tide line, we'll be able to recoup what we've lost, or what's been lost, not we've lost, what's been lost. But we want to do that sooner rather than later, in my estimation, because, you know,
We had two of them 2 years ago. and-
if it washes away, it just becomes more expensive to do.
Yeah.
That being said, I haven't discussed that very scenario with the engineers that would permit this project for it, so it may be advantageous to permit them as separate projects, and it may be more advantageous to permit them together. We might permit them together but build them separately. That probably would be the most cost-effective option. Still looking to see if I can find that answer. What else we got?
Question, guys? Okay.
So in 2020. I find that hard to believe. Cost estimates in 27, okay, in $27 includes engineering, permitting, contractor. That says 150. That says, that seems
That's it.
low. That seems low from 8 years ago to me, but.
Yeah.
Nah, I was in recovery mode then, so I don't know what the real answer.
Right. So, entertain a motion.
Yeah, I move to
Recommend approval and recommend disapproval. And
My second.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, passes.
Thank you.
That's what, like I said, the use.
sort of.
All right, well, I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay. Guys, good seeing you. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Take offensive, I say, I hope I don't have to see you for another.
That's how I. I mean, I'm always telling, it's like, you know.